everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tube, or welcome back if this is your 5th Perry Mason episode review. I hope you're all doing well, being good to each other, all that sorts in this current crazy climate. Yeah, nothing much to say. Let's get down to it. This episode, man, it kind of, like, it's weird. Like, I think this Chapter 4 and Chapter 5 were meant to service as a two-parter in a way, where we kind of saw the swan song last week of EB. We saw his sins, the mistakes he made in his life, and even before he passed away, well, before he died, seeing the mistakes he's made in his life and the regrets he had to his grave. This one was more a Perry, and seeing him kind of see that in his current age and see that he has to make a change, or at least subconsciously needs to be something else to be able to solve this case, to be able to, for this case to be figured out and, you know, solved. And then and then by the end of this episode, it's like, this last week was the end of EB's tale. This was the beginning of Perry's journey in a way, and I felt this was, I think personally, the best episode of the season so far. Well, the series. It's a mini-series. We're not going to get any more after these 8. Seeing that was very, like, I didn't know. Like, I honestly felt that this was going to be a downer week, that we weren't going to get any major. I honestly thought, like, even though, like, this is a mini-series, they only have the 8 episodes. They don't have anything more to work with. That I still felt that they were going to take a week off from actually of the case. We were going to focus more on EB's past, maybe have Perry get the epiphany of figuring out what he needs to do next to solve this case. That's what I honestly thought this episode was going to head into when it started it, but it turned out to be something more. It turned out to be something deeper and something more to focus more on Perry and see where he's going to eventually end up being. And yeah, I love this episode more for it. So with that being said, let's get down to it. Let's go through the butchered recap and talk about it. So we begin with, I still forgot the name, Evie's assistant, who's not really the assistant anymore, because, you know what happened. I'm sorry, I was trying to fight the yawn, but the yawn was like really overpowering me. Yeah, I'm sorry. Actually, you know what? My phone's not near me. I was actually gonna say frack it. I'm gonna look it up, but. No, I don't have it. So Evie's assistant, no longer his assistant, goes to his house, presumably to pick him up. You know, start the day off. You know, as normality would be for a work day for them. But he doesn't answer the door. Obviously, she goes in because she has a key, and she finds his body and is obviously in shock, taken aback by the gas. And you know, the first person she calls up is Perry, who comes over there in quick speed. They decide to try to, like, not make this a suicide and try to just make it like a peaceful passing by taking his body from the kitchen area all the way to his bedroom and just, you know, assuming that he just died in his sleep. To at least kind of, like, alleviate some stuff in the will, because I think there probably was a contract in the will, probably, like, if he died a certain way, there's an inheritance or there's a life insurance or something. I don't really know how it works. So as soon as they get that settled in, the assistant goes to deal with the one of the people who's handling the life insurance policy about the arrangement, how she found it. Kind of just trying to, like, schedule the chain of events to kind of, like, prove that it's just a discovery of natural passing. Of natural death by natural causes, that sort of thing. So she and Perry head off to head up to more northern California, where the rest of his family is located, to kind of have the funeral there, where he's surrounded by family. So they make way by train. They're mourning the way there. We don't get that funeral scene. We don't. We just bypass that and we just get to the part where they're just literally putting Evie's body. I presume in one of those, like, stone buildings where they don't bury them in the ground, they just slide it into a stone tablet and just, like, cover it with another stone tablet and just leave the name there. I think that's how they do it. They talk to one of EB's relatives there, who basically, there's more story to tell on EB, but since this is a miniseries, I'm pretty sure we're not going to get it. But we do get, like, a small snippet that this family has dealt with a lot, that they don't even talk to each other anymore, that while EB barely talks to them, you know, he doesn't really talk about them. He keeps his life private, nor do they about him. So for them, it's kind of coming across like, okay, he's gone. Doesn't really matter in our shoes. We're just going to move life as is. That was kind of like the direction that conversation went with Perry and the assistant and him. So those two head out back to the hotel to get some late night drinking. They kind of talk about EB, talk about like how things are, and like, you know, shoot the shit because like, you know, one of their most important figures in their life is gone. He's dead. He's not coming back. And considering the fact that we also have the Dodger case, we also have to solve the actual case. What really happened with the murder of little Charlie. Without EB there anymore, it puts a lot of things into questioning here. So anyway, so they're off dealing with that. The next morning, presumably they're heading back to L.A. But Perry already left. He already checked out earlier when she goes to go pick him up so they can head back to the train station. But we don't know where Perry's going. But we see Perry doing the typical early 20th century way of like getting around before taxis. You just hopefully some guys head in the direction you need to go to, and they'll give you a ride in the back of their truck. So Perry gets a ride. He gets off. It turns out to be his ex-wife and his son's house. Apparently he wants to pay them a visit because I think they were talking about the fact during the talk in the hotel about the mistakes they made, about, you know, their lives, about what they would like to do. Because EB never got to like make amends with his family. So having that regret or having that, like, you know, that hardship on you for like so long, like I wouldn't be surprised Perry wants to go and try and be more involved in his son's life, you know, and, you know, seeing him and his son reunite for a brief moment was like, it was so touching because like Perry doesn't know what to do with this. He's not an emotional person. Like even when he discovered EB, like when he saw EB's body, he didn't cry or anything. He felt sad, I'm pretty sure, but we didn't see him cry or anything. So when he saw his son, like, I think he knows he loves him, but he doesn't really like show it. They invite Perry to stay for the night, to stay for dinner, but, you know, he has to go back to LA for the case, so he can't really stay long. Presumably the other guy that was in the house is his ex-wife's new husband. I'm presuming. I could be wrong. I'm not sure, really. But, yeah, they seem to have a pretty good life there, and Perry even tries to pitch to his ex-wife. Hey, why don't we bring over, I think his name's Teddy, up to the farm for some time, you know, trying to get him, you know, acquainted in the family history, but she's like, nah, that farmhouse, forget it. Which makes sense. Considering Perry's lifestyle, I don't think Perry is a suitable father for him at this point. So then, meanwhile, while Perry's still off trying to play catch-up with his other family, we head back to L.A., and then a lot of stuff's been happening. So Pete has been doing a solo surveillance on the detective in question, but it turns out that he gets discovered fairly quickly. He gets drawn into the brothel. He's trying to be persuaded to kind of drop the whole thing, so to speak. Oh god, this was kind of a weird scene for me to see. The assistant goes also back to the church side of things. So Sister Alice, they're getting tons of donations for the church because of the whole proclamation that Sister Alice will resurrect little Charlie, you know, all this sort of thing. So donations are coming in like, through the massive. And Sister Alice has the very decisive sentence to say, can I have $25,000 for Emily Doddson's bail? Which, here's the thing I never understood about church. And I always make the question about, like, on TV shows, like, how did they get their money? How do they pay for things? That sort of thing. My hair is falling apart mid-show. So, how do they get paid? Or how do they get money? I never really, I want to know more about that, or at least I would like to know more, and then, yeah, and then they finally one of the shows finally gave me an answer for it. It's like, well, we just get it for donations, and I think one of the guys said, well, we have enough to pay for the house, and we have enough to pay to keep the kitchen stock. That's literally all the money we have. And then, you know, here comes Alice asking, hey, I want $25,000. Like, I believe in Emily. I want her out of prison. I want her in our house. I don't understand. Like, I know Emily, you know, I mean, I know that Alice is trying to be nice. But you gotta focus on yourself here. Like, I understand trying to help someone out, but if you can't even help yourself, or you're barely going back as this, because even though they never specifically said they're having financial trouble, it's still a, they're still basically saying like, hey, we barely have enough as is to get things on the roll here, so maybe we can not try and donate to every, hopeless cause you see. But, Alice goes through with the bail. She gets Emily into the house. Then they meet with the assistant, who's no longer an assistant, about like, so now that Evie's gone, we need to find a new lawyer to represent your case. And they picked one out already by the court, a public defender who's eating delicious cake. Then I can't eat cake because I ate a whole ton of cake last week. Oh. Anyway, so it's clear this guy is not really trying his best. He's basically just reading through what EB already wrote, reading through this and that. He's not really like trying to like. He's not making the move. But then again, he's a public defender. Either he's getting this pro bono or he's getting jack shit for this. However, the assistant goes to make a call, which is to the lawyer that EB talked to, I think, a couple episodes ago. That same lawyer. They're about to share a drink together, but she's like, nah, I kind of don't want to. She tries to sell him on the fact that, hey, maybe you can represent him. Maybe you can take over the case. But he's like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, this list you gave me, solid choices here, but they're not the right choice for this. So, Ash, this is a career killer. I took a law class one time, and basically a career killer case can happen because if you lose a big case, then your reputation's on the line, and you might not be able to get more work. And that's crazy to think of, but it does happen. And none of them are going to accept this case, because basically right now, the DA, played by Stephen Root, is going to do his damn best to try and not lose this case. He wants the higher position. He needs this win so he can get a higher position of power. So he's doing everything in his power. And you saw what happened to EB, so no other lawyer is going to take this case of, after what that happened. So basically she's screwed, like, well, we're stuck with this public defender, and then we cut back to apparently the law office is paid up for the month, so they can still use the space. And he just moved in, like oh, I'm in charge now, like I'm taking over the case, I'm in charge of this whole place now. But then she when they're at the scene together and he gets a private call from someone, she goes to tap in. It turns out he and the DA are in cahoots with each other. It turns out that he's in there to like, okay, get all the evidence you need, and when we get it, we're going to destroy it, we're going to win the case. So she manages, the assistant, to move everything to her house, to her room, to kind of like get this off the record. For now, at least, they're going to try and get this on the record later, but right now they're going to try and get all this evidence out of the way for the time being, so he doesn't give anything to the DA at this moment. Also, I forgot with the Drakes. We got the Drakes this week, I don't want to cut their time short because I know this is still even a big thing going on right now in the world. But this week we're like the Drakes are meant to serve this week. Not serve. I don't mean like that. I just mean like the message that their storyline is trying to tell us this week is that segregation. That's still a big issue in the back in it's back in the early 20th century, that segregation, and they're not really being treated fairly enough. We get to see them in a church where they're. I think this is slowly, because again, I took another class earlier this year about civil history, and give me 1 second because the camera's about to die. I got it. Yeah, okay, camera's back to normal. Okay, moving on. So the Drakes, they go to a church where they're. I think this was one of the earliest meetings, or could have been one of the earlier inspiration for the civil rights movement. At least the one we would get to eventually down the line. I think it was like the very early seeds of it, and then we move into his wife and a couple friends are going to the beach in January. Jesus Christ, who goes to the beach in January? So they head down there, and he's having a talk with his friend while the wives are off in the ocean about a potential, like, hey, why don't you leave the police life behind, be a truck driver, like let's start a business together. He's like, nah, I don't feel like that's the right move for me. And then, conveniently enough, a police officer comes by, and like they're emptying out the beach, which I'm presumably is a colored beach. I think at the point, like where they kind of segregated the areas, like whites here, black colored people here, like that sort of thing. And even though like the wife tries to, Drake's wife tries to stand up for them, it's like, hey, he's a police officer too. It's like, what state, what district, that sort of thing. And he's like, well, you ain't, that doesn't really matter here. Like, we're in charge here. Which kind of showcases how very corrupt that time period was, with in terms of like, you know, or at least not fair things were. And then we get a scene later where we see the Drakes in bed kind of talking about things, and Drake himself is not really happy with everything going on, that he just wants everything to be fine for him, his wife, and the baby, and then she supports him on that. So it's still a nice way that even from I can't speak English, getting from with everything, Drake is still trying to be, Jesus Christ, my hair's a mess. Sorry about that. Anyway, Drake is still trying to be a good man here, and I really respect that about him. We get a scene with Perry talking to Pete, apologizing to him that, like, hey, Pete, sorry, like, I still can't pay you now that EB's gone. There's no still way to pay you, man. I'm sorry. But Pete's like, don't worry, man. You know, I got you on this one. And then, there was another scene I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, so when Perry eventually also gets back to L.A., he figures out that this public defender has taken over EB's office, and Perry, in a fit, throws him out of there, like, you know, trying to say like, hey, he's just throwing books at him. Like, I forgot what his argument was, and I'm already sweating. Damn, it's really hot today. It's actually 95 here in New York, so that's crazy. And also, what else did I forget? So Perry throws him out. He meets with the assistant, not assistant anymore. He gets filled in about how she has all this extra evidence. They don't have them in the system yet. And also we get a gospel scene with Sister Alice where she's at the church. I'm sorry, I'm jumping over the place. Again, this is the butchered recap, so I'm never in order of things. So please go watch the episode so you can like actually enjoy it for yourself. Sister Alice is doing a sermon, proclaiming she can heal people. She picks a person who's disabled in a wheelchair, although I'm pretty sure it's probably a stage thing. And she does that, trying to get Emily to believe that, yeah, I can perform miracles, that your son will come back to me eventually. As well as she takes her to Charlie's grave, which, of course, obviously she didn't get the chance to go because she was arrested shortly after the funerals, which I'll give Alice that. As well as another fact before we get back to the tail end of the episode. Turns out after Alice's proclamation about resurrection, a splinter of followers have separated themselves from the church and has proclaimed themselves as an independent function that they will only return when Alice denounces her words and her statement, that sort of thing. And then back to Perry. So while Perry is like arguing his case about how things aren't so great right now for Emily and how they still need to figure out what to do, the assistant has the bright idea to, and honestly, it's like the smartest move possible. She writes up a letter proclaiming that before EB died, Perry was on EB's apprenticeship. That Perry was being taught law under EB's tutelage. So Perry, by definition, can be a defense attorney. He could be a lawyer, which is like mind blown. Also, I look like George in that show. Like, sorry, George. I didn't mean to insult you, man. I love you. Okay. So, but that being said, they have enough, at least enough credibility to at least get Perry to be her lawyer, at least for this case only. Which, of course, Emily, Sister Alice, not entirely fans of the idea, but however, since every lawyer has already rejected this case, Perry's literally the only chance they got. And, but Perry, honestly, he can do the job. I believe in him. I think he can do the job. And then I think, then Perry goes to a meeting, which honestly, I forgot the meaning about it. And then to end the episode, Perry gets sworn in as a lawyer. He takes the oath and he's a lawyer. And that's kind of like the poignant way for this kind of middle chapter where we see EB end his time as a lawyer. Perry begins his time as a lawyer, which I'm like, smart move. And yeah, that's where the episode ends. So again, this was a really great episode. I think it's the best episode of the series so far. Getting to see Perry become, or at least begin his journey to be this defense attorney as we know him from the books. Solid choice by the writers. Getting to actually deal with some more real world problems. seeing Sister Allison, seeing Emily just be happy for once, even though I know it's all a sham and whatsoever. At least seeing her smile is still like a good thing. And Sister Alice is a pretty nice person, even though that those Gospels are like really not bad, but I'm just saying like they're really like loud, and that's coming from me, who's already a loud person. So for me, 2 thumbs up in my book. I think this is the best episode of the series thus far, and I can't wait to see where next week and then the last 2 weeks are going to go, and how we're going to wrap up this story. I can't wait for it. I can't wait. So with that being said, that's it. I think that's going to do it for me, guys, because, again, I am sweating right now because I don't have my AC on, and it comes up with the microphone, so Sorry for the face, sorry for that. Anyway, if you want to know, this was What's in the Tube from ActionX. If you want to see more of What's in the Tube, and also what we do overall on the show, we also do, besides our Perry Mason episode reviews, DC Stargirl episode reviews each and every Friday after a brand new episode on Mondays on DC Universe, the streaming service, and also on Tuesday nights on the CW, but you can catch it all for free on Wednesdays on the CW.com and the CW app. We also do Doom Patrol Season 2 episode reviews each and every Saturday after a brand new episode on Thursday on HBO Max and on DC Universe. Both streaming services. But if you don't care about Perry Mason, then you're in luck. We'll be back next week for the next Perry Mason episode review. And yeah, there's nothing else to change. Just letting you know. So yeah, I think we're in the point I could start talking about this. I think we're already past the halfway mark, and this is already a short run. So after Perry Mason is over, the episode 8 review, which is crazy to think that's still 3 weeks away. After that's over, we're going to do a series review because it's a mini-series, there is no season 2, that's it. That's a one and done tale, which I'm perfectly fine with. I don't need more shows to keep going on. And then when that's over, that's it. So that will be the conclusion of the run. Whatever we'll do next after that will be up to future me because I haven't decided yet. So anyway, we'll talk about more about that later on in a couple of weeks. But until then, again, this has been What's in the Tube from ActionX. If you want to see more of What's in the Tube, specifically our Perry Mason episode reviews, please subscribe to ActionX on YouTube.com. Ring the bell for notifications when the next episode review is live. Like, favorite, share if you want to, but it does really help us out, guys, in the long run. And follow us on social media to be up to date on new videos, updates on videos, all that stuff. My hair is a mess, so I'm going to go. So for you Masoners, be safe out there, be good to each other, and I'll see you guys next time.